So guys, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be looking at the 5090 and the rumored specs of it. Also, we're going to be going over how I kind of see this playing out for GPU mining in the future, kind of what hash rates we're looking at for them, and a little bit of history of why these specs are important for GPU mining. So we have reported leaks here for the 5090. The main things we're going to be focusing on right now is the memory. So the R7 memory at 32 gigabytes. And the 600 watts that it's going to pull. I think that's going to be maximum pull. Obviously, I'd be surprised if it went past that. So I believe that this 600 watts would be, I think, 4 8-pins, maybe. That would give enough, possibly. And then, I obviously don't know how that's going to work out in terms of power, but you're going to need a pretty big power supply to actually supply the power to the GPU and all the other systems on the computer. So expect a big power supply for that. And depending on kind of how it is powered, you might want to also look into getting more cables for these. The main thing that we want to focus on is this 512-bit memory at 32 gigabytes, because this kind of gives us the best information for mining on memory intensive algorithms. So if you didn't know, when you're GPU mining on a memory intensive algorithm, this could be ETH-hash, this could be kaspa algorithm, NexaPow, MeowPow, I believe. Basically, the main indicator for how well a GPU will do on this algorithm or memory intensive algorithms is the memory bus width. We're talking in terms of hash rate, not necessarily efficiency, because they could be less efficient, but they do a lot of hash rate. For example, what we'll show here is the 4090. So if we scroll down here, you can see the memory is 24 gigabytes, R6X, and the bus width is 384. So this is around, I'd say 75% or maybe 65% bigger bus width than you see on the 4090. So what does that look like in terms of GPU mining? Well, you have the Neoxa coin right here. This is on the kaspa algorithm. And as you can see, you do around 65 mega hash on the 4090 right there. However, you also see that the 3090 is above it. So you have 66.21. Now, you'd think that the 4090 would basically be better than every GPU for mining. However, if you go to 3090 specs here, you can see 3090 Ti. You scroll down here, and what you're looking for is the memory. It's 24 gigabytes RX6 and the same memory bus width that you see on the 4090. So 384-bit. As I said at the start of the video, that is one of the main indicators of how well it will do on a memory intensive algorithm, obviously because it's going off of the memory. Now for core intensive algorithms, it's kind of up for debate. AMD tend to do better on those, I believe, and they're also more efficient on them. But if we're looking strictly on the 5090 specs that we're seeing here, you can see 512, so this could be around 60 to 70% better in terms of mining hash rate than we see on the 4090 or the 3090. And this is kind of the same across the board. What you see here is 3090 Ti, and then 40, and then 30 again, and then 30. So this kind of shows us that with a bigger bus width, you can get more hash rate. Same goes for Octospace, which is ETH-hash. I know we don't mine it on a GPU anymore, but you can if you want to. You can see there that the 3090 is actually better than the 4090. And then you have to go down quite a lot more to get to the 4080, which in theory should be, the second most up-to-date GPU that you can buy. So if you're talking about a mining sense, the 40 series are going to be more efficient, but in terms of pure hash rate, let's say you had free power or something like that, in terms of pure hash rate, the 30 series is a way better buy for the price that you're getting it at. For example, you could buy a 4090 for maybe $1,500, but you could also get a 3090 for, I don't know, around $700, and it will give you the same hash rate basically as the 40 series. So when it comes to GPU mining, obviously when it comes to gaming, there's going to be differences, and the 50 series is probably going to be way better. But when it comes to mining memory intensive algorithms, it's going to have a 50 to 60% increase in the hash rate that we're seeing there. So there are differences between it, and this is kind of just to prove that the bus width is the main thing that we want to be looking at, because the 40 series that we're seeing here has a smaller processor because we're at 5 nanometers, and then the 30 5090 Ti has an 8nm processor, but the difference between them in memory intensive algorithms is basically zero. And as I said, it sometimes does outbeat the 4090 on these algorithms. So going back to the 50 series, we're probably going to see that increase from that bus width. Now the core algorithms is up for debate, but I don't think that we're going to see too many coins building on core algorithms in the future, just because ASICs can take over those networks very quickly. We even saw it with, Carlson hash. All of the K-heavy hash, even Blake 3 ones, they can be overtaken very quickly without that memory hardening on the algorithm. So when the 50 series does release, I'm willing to bet that not a lot of people will be building unless they want to welcome ASICs onto the network. They're not necessarily going to go with core intensive algorithms, they're going to go with memory intensive algorithms. And I believe if we look here on all the coins, pretty much all of them for GPU mining now are on memory intensive algorithms. So this might be great for mining in the future in terms of a pure hash rate number. This is obviously going to yield a bunch more coins. But let's firstly look at the benchmarks that we see here. So I believe that if you're on Octaspace, we're probably going to do, maybe 200 mega hash. This one says 132, but on the 5090, probably going to do 200 mega hash. And then on Hyper, which is ETH hash / Blake 3, you're probably looking at around 200 mega hash again. And I would say, add 50 to 60% more onto whatever mega hash you see in here at the top, and that's probably going to give you your mega hash for when the 5090 comes out. Obviously subject to actually testing on the network, they might be a little bit better. Going back to the coins that we see here, you have Bitcoin, Dogecoin, Kaspa coin. So the K-heavy hash algorithm doesn't necessarily use the memory, and that's why it was easy to get ASICs onto the network and FPGAs. You have ETH hash, but if we keep scrolling down until we get to a GPU mineable coin, we see right here Raven coin, that's memory. Claw is memory because it's car power, both of them are. Zealous, I'm not sure what the actual algorithm is used upon. I know that it was core intensive, but maybe it might have switched over to memory intensive now. Cubic hash is kind of on its own. Cadena is ASICs. Octopus, I believe that's memory intensive. And then Zel hash or Flux, that's kind of up for debate. It is more memory intensive than core intensive. Dynex Solve is probably more core intensive. Nexapow is memory. Autolycos is memory. And if we keep going down, all you have is Carpow coins, and then Abelian. I don't actually know kind of how intensive on core or memory that is. But ProgPow, that's going to be memory as well. So there's a bunch of coins right now that are out there that you can mine that are pretty much all memory intensive, and going into the future, that's what I think we're going to see for GPU mineable coins, just because the core intensive ones will switch to ASICs very quickly. That's not saying that the 5090 won't be amazing on those core intensive algorithms. I'm just saying I wouldn't buy it to mine those ones that keep popping up. I would more buy it to mine those memory intensive algorithms that we see. It's also great for spec mining because you can gain a lot of hash rate just for one machine. It also comes into conversation of what the price of one of these is going to be. We're probably looking at around $2,000 to start off with, if not higher, maybe $2,500, depending on where Nvidia want to go. They are more focusing on AI right now, and this is probably what the 50 series is going to be more focused on. So they're going to market that as, the AI GPU of the future, where you can do AI compute on there. And this might also be good for those miners that switch their rigs over to like a proof of useful work, where you do Dynex, Flux, or even Claw or Vast AI. You can basically rent those out, and then people will probably be mining GPU mineable coins, but you can still take advantage of that. Put up your 50 series for people to use. So that's just my thoughts on it, kind of giving you some information on where I see it going in the future of mining for the 50 series. Let me know in the comments what you think about this, what price is going to be, and if it's going to be doing well on what coins. Make sure you like the video and subscribe for more content like this.